So do not run vegetable oil as a blend in your diesel if you're in cold weather or up north. You really want the outside temperature to be well above 80. Vegetable oil is more highly viscous or thinner at higher temperatures. So you could also put an inline heater in your system, but ultimately you don't want to run a thicker oil blend, even though diesel is slightly oily. This vegetable oil really thickens it up. You don't want to do that in cold weather. So I only do this in the summertime when it's hot. I don't want to gum up anything. So that's that. Once you get a 55-gallon drum full of your clean oil, what you can do then is set up one of these manual pumps. This is a super cheap one. I think it was 30 or 40 bucks from Amazon. It gets you I use a 1.25 gallon used oil container. It's just easier to manage from this thing over to the tank. And I like to see one that has a little level gauge in here, because if I fill this up to 4.5, I'm just under 1.25 gallons. But if I go a little higher, not to 5 liters, this is 4.5 liters. If I go up to 5 liters, I'm a little over. So I'm just going to go up a little bit above, right about to there. And then I'm going to walk this over and I'm going to dump it into the rear fuel tank of the 97 F250 diesel 7.3. So you basically just crank this into here and watch the level on this side. As it starts to go up, you just slow down. So it works pretty quick, actually. So now I'm up to 3.5 liters, 4.5 liters, and I'm about half. So I'm good to go. What I do then is just let this drip or stream into this until it starts to drip. And then once it starts to drip, I let it drip down onto this napkin down, or paper towel down here, to catch it so I don't make a mess. Like I said, this is incredibly dirty, difficult, and nasty work. But if you want to save the money on the fuel, then this is the way to go. And you're burning trash oil, so it's a good thing if you want to run this. Like I said, I wouldn't do this on a single tank F250, F350 on up, like a Super Duty, because you don't have the option of starting it on diesel on the front tank and stopping it on diesel on the front tank. Pumping the cleaned vegetable oil into this jug, you're going to want to look in there. If you see any milky, you got to trash it. You got to start all over. So as you're filling the 55-gallon drum into this small jug, bubbles are fine, milk is bad. Milk means there's water in it, and do not put that in your tank. This was the first gallon that I got out of the bottom of the barrel. It's not clear oil, so I believe there's water in it, so I'm going to let this separate. Another thing I should caution you on is near the bottom of the barrel, you're going to get some sludge, possibly, especially if it's the first time using the barrel. You might want to filter it with a general filter, I should say, going into the tank. Also, watch for water. The first little bit I pulled out had a little tiny bit of milky in it, so I went ahead and dumped it in a bucket so that it could separate over time, and then I'll decant or pour the top of that oil off the water, being careful not to get it in there and mix it back in. So you're welcome to use a barrel and go directly into your tank if you want, but you better make damn sure that there's no sludge or water in that barrel. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of crap in your pickup filter on your fuel pump, and it won't even make it to the filter in the fuel bowl. So yes, this is janky, incredibly janky, but it works. I've got an oversized piece of plastic that I'm using as a guide to, again, reduce the mess. It's a messy job. And in this case, I usually have a ladder in the back of my truck to hold the bungee cord to, but just the weight of the bungee cord enough is holding this in place. I've dumped 3 of these in now. So it's holding. Again, it's totally rigged out, but if you can come up with something better, please do. If you're going to do this a lot, this has worked for me. Inside this outside plastic piece of crap funnel that I've made is an actual funnel, but it's jammed up inside there so it doesn't go anywhere. So the important thing that I watch for when I'm filling this up is for that bottom funnel to back up. If it backs up because I'm going too fast, it overflows at the bottom right there. We don't want that to happen. If that happens like that, we got a problem. We got a bigger mess. So I just use this clear plastic piece of Rubbermaid tub that I cut into this shape and put a couple screws in to help reduce that overflow by washing it through the clear plastic. Anyway, that's how it works. It works great for me. I've got a rudimentary way of keeping track of this as I put it in the tank. I've got, this represents 5 gallons. So after I go 1.25, 2.5, 3.75, and then another one, I'm gonna have 5 gallons. So currently I have a 5 gallon total here, and then these 3 represent 3 more of these jugs. When I put another one in, I'm gonna move these over and I'm gonna put that big rock that tells me I've now got 10 gallons. So it's screwy math, but you know, it works because I'm gonna get distracted. Something's gonna pull me away from doing this and I'm gonna forget where I was. So that's one way of keeping track of how much of the vegetable oil you've put in. Then you're gonna top that off, of course, with the diesel fuel. As you get to about 10 gallons in your rear tank, which is what I use, I recommend you, this is manually filling it up, go ahead and flip it over to the rear tank and look at your fuel gauge. You don't want to overfill that thing. So I've only put 10 gallons in, and I was down to about a quarter of a tank. And you can see it's almost full. So I got to be real careful putting these next few gallons in. Matter of fact, I could stop right here because my needle goes well beyond full when it's full. So I can stop here and I can go ahead and top it off with some diesel. I have since the beginning of this video decided that I could run full straight vegetable oil in my rear tank. However, if you leave it on the rear tank when you try to restart it, it doesn't want to start. So I do recommend that you can run it full vegetable oil, or you can go ahead and probably put 1 to 5 gallons in, and that just seems to run a little bit better. A side note on your barrel, this is what it'll look like when you start, and this is what it'll look like just after the first run. So it's very dirty. Another thing you want to do on your barrel is tilt it. Put you a 2x4 underneath the side so that it tilts to this direction. Why would you do that? Because then you can leave your pump installed without having to cap it each time. And as it rains and this pools up on here, the water will run off of here. You can drill a hole here. I've seen that done many times too. But if you breach inside the barrel with that drill mark, you run the barrel. So any water that gets on top of this pool area will go down into the barrel directly if you don't get the lip. So be real careful drilling that, but that's also a good idea. I would recommend drilling it from this angle about an 1/8 inch higher than the seam. And then any water that pools up here has a way to get off. The most important thing you want to accomplish here is do not let water back in that hole. You'll have to remove the little bung in order to pump this out, but I cap that back whenever I'm done. So I'm done with this at this moment, and this is how I'm going to leave it. I'm probably going to put a bucket over the pump just to protect it from the elements, but with the tilted barrel, water will run off to the edge and pool over that way and not sit around this or that bunghole where it can get in. So food for thought.